You pressed play.
Hey, happy Monday. We are back. I pressed go live. Trying to give you a heads up before you say something dumb, which we're going to do anyway.
I'll do it anyway. You can't stop me.
Exactly. It's Monday. I'm excited because I also heard somewhere that the SEC is going to on purpose leak the ETF date. I didn't see that in our list of things we're talking about today, but
we can talk about it now, though.
but it's pretty interesting. I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to get rid of all the front running and king making of whichever gets listed first. So they're just going to suggest the approval date in advance of Thanksgiving, hopefully, which is super freaking exciting if they actually do it. Could in fact be a pretty meaningful catalyst for us to move forward from the depths of the winter. I'm not suggesting it's going to be the thing that gets us out of it, but maybe it'll be a little bit of thawing. We might get a Chinook. Hey, we were just talking about Chinooks in Calgary, Canada, which to most people mean nothing. But if you understand what a Chinook is, maybe this will be the Chinook for the crypto.
Oh my gosh, I'm going to have to write articles about crypto Chinooks.
Crypto Chinooks, that's right. Hey,
write that down.
Maybe like a new project idea. Who knows? Because we need more new project ideas. Okay, so we got a lot of stuff to talk about. It's the big roundup from the weekend. Obviously, before Kiara gets into listing off all the things we're talking about, we're a live show Monday to Friday, 12:30 p.m. Eastern. Currently, we are still in Twitter jail, so there's no spaces for the next little bit, unfortunately. But on the bright side, our account is getting back into good standing, so we can actually do stuff with it.
It's working.
For reasons mainly still unknown to us.
If you're ever in Twitter jail and you want to know how to get out, feel free to reach out because I have tried everything.
We've only found ourselves in Twitter jail like 100 times over the last few years. I don't even and none of us understand why, really, except for maybe you.
I'm not sure if we were ever released. I think we maybe just were in the lobby or the screening room for most of the years.
I better get at least get one of the striped jumpsuits or something.
Just so it has little X's in
That's a good merch idea. Oh, really good merch idea. Hey, okay, so all of that stuff. We're a live show, so just help us out. Like, share, subscribe, do all that shit. What are we talking about today?
Okay, so there was still a lot of news going around about SBF because people are stoked that he's been convicted. I believe that he still has not been sentenced. But because all of that news was going around, there's a lot of other FUD about lawsuits and who else is fraudulent and other scams. And so we're going to cover some of that. There's this really strange one that is definitely FUDdy that we're going to kick off with, which is where Nerayoff has been announcing that Vitalik is worse than SBF in terms of fraudulent activity. So that one's kind of weird. We're going to move over into some more serious stuff about Ripple and kind of what's going on there because people have a lot of conjecture about how the Ripple case is going to go now that the SBF case is done. I guess we're just moving on. We just can't help ourselves from the tabloids. In that same space, we're going to talk about Musk because he's all over crypto Twitter right now because he accidentally made another token go ballistic. So that's exciting. And then we will have a couple other things about scams. So how many went on in October? SafeMoon, who have been arrested. And then we're going to end on some positive notes about good VCs, good projects with good backing. We'll leave you not FUDdy on a Monday.
I don't know. We might find a way to FUD. We'll see.
I'll FUD.
But let's freaking go.
Okay.
The graphics guys that we have to do these things, you can tell they might be in different moods when they make them. In the hip hop one, we're jacked and tattooed and we're looking pretty good. And in that one, we look like homeless and probably, I don't know the politically correct word for this, but mentally challenged.
Street involved is what we call people who are homeless now.
Street involved? Oh my God. I'm never
that one was a bit much for me. I feel like nobody did some consultation with.
I am never going to get on board with your Marxist ideologies. Anyways,
I don't agree with street involved. I think it's a dumb word.
All right, let's talk about this.
Stephen Nerayoff. He has been in the news on and off for years and years. There have been all kinds of weird, wacky things he's said, including being one of the 8 ETH co-founders, which other ETH co-founders were not on board with. And then in May, he was being charged with criminal extortion, and they were dismissed by a New York judge in May. So he's not exactly a reputable source, but he does have a big following. He is a name that you've probably heard of. And in the wake of the SBF case, he has come out to say that Ethereum is the fraudulent elephant in the room, in plain sight, 1,000 times bigger than SBF. He says that it's very corrupt, and that Vitalik and Joe Lubin have actually been bribing officials like Gensler for years.
Yeah, this article made it. But it, to me, sounds like clout chasing. Reminds me a lot of Craig Wright. Yes. Somebody that wants to take credit for something that most likely wasn't theirs. If you remember, Camilla Russo wrote a book about essentially the history of Ethereum that she did a lot of like proper investigative journalism to really understand. I think that like the vast majority of the information about the start of Ethereum and who was involved and how they were involved is fairly well established and generally speaking, not debated too deeply. So this is like super strange. I feel like we see a lot of this going into new cycles, obviously, or at the peak froth of cycles. Everybody's trying to find a way to stand out. Right now, there's very little attention. So you're doing something bold to try to get some. And later, there's a ton of attention, but it's on all the dumb, frivolous stuff. So you got to try to do something to get some of that attention. I don't know about this one. I find it incredibly hard to believe that Joe Lubin, who is deeply involved in the space and is very public, and Vitalik, of all people. I mean, Vitalik, I feel like catches spiders and releases them outside so he doesn't have to kill them.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Like, he doesn't strike, like the guy wears like a furry backpack. Like, I don't think he's defrauding anybody. But
hey, maybe that's a good cover. Maybe that's what all.
Maybe I'm going to start wearing like animal backpacks everywhere I go and dress in bright colors and baggy pants with a banana in my
maybe Nerayoff is just going to start a TikTok channel and he's looking to monetize fast. Like, I don't really know why else he would want this attention. And it's kind of interesting because no actual news source is reporting on this, but all of the tabloidy crypto sources are. And it was up on my crypto Twitter as well. So I thought we should address it because it's like ultimate FUD.
I'm going to steelman the alternate argument here just because it's fun to look at both sides. But originally, when BitBoy started talking shit about SBF, we all thought BitBoy had lost his fucking mind and was just going crazy. And there has been multiple people go off on CZ, and often we kind of dismiss that as being jealous and greedy and competitive.
Right. Yep.
So that doesn't mean that this is true in any way. I'm just saying.
But you know.
The last couple of times it's been true, even though it's been pretty bold, it's been true to a certain extent. Yeah. So I suppose, you know, there's take it with a grain of salt. I find this incredibly hard to believe, kind of seems ridiculous. I feel like it's just riding on the coattails of the publicity of SBF.
The concept about fraudulent activity hard to believe, but I wouldn't be surprised if there were backdoor deals done because there are for everything else.
Everything on planet Earth is driven by lobbies
I don't think it's news.
Consultancies and all of these kind of people in the middle that capture a lot of value for, well, arguably no reason. But I don't know. This is an interesting one. We'll have to wait and see what happens. I think fraud would be highly, highly surprising. Again, I'm sure they've donated like almost every business on Earth to many political endeavors and, you know, a whole bunch of other things, but that's pretty standard. The way that SBF did it was not standard, but just because you donate to politicians and just because you have lobbyists and consultants, that's like every major business category. So, I mean, that's not super surprising if that's the case. We'll have to see. Probably shouldn't spend a ton more time talking about this nonsense. We don't want to give it any more oxygen, but what's next? This is exciting.
Also tabloidy, and also I think just kind of fodder from the SBF case is what's going on with Ripple. They've been in the news quite a bit as well because SEC versus Ripple. And most of what is being said is also just conjecture. So when you are reading these articles, make sure that you're aware of that. Make sure that these are op-eds and not news. For example, one article I found that was kind of an article of an article of an article has said that Ripple and the SEC have actually settled, and they have not. So put on your critical thinking caps and make sure that you are fact checking because it's all over the place. But basically, the SEC has put forward the option of a $20 million settlement for Ripple. And the SEC says that they see this as a win, and Ripple lawyers say that they see it as a win as well, but that they probably aren't going to settle because there was recently a case which was SEC versus Govia, and the U.S. Court of Appeals ruled that the SEC cannot request a substantial disgorgement award without first demonstrating actual financial harm to investors. And Ripple still stands by the idea that they did not harm any investors. So there's a lot of fun and there's a lot of news going around about Ripple, but most of it is just lawyers kind of bantering and having PR stunts, I think.
Yeah. So this is another, I think, interesting example of just using the media to try to negotiate your terms a little bit. Another thing, like another reason, and they probably didn't come out and say this, but if they're pretty confident that they're going to win, which obviously they are, there's costs that can be awarded if they don't settle. If they settle, then they're as much admitting that they were at fault for some stuff, and they won't be able to recover any of the probably pushing $500 million in legal fees that have been caused by unnecessary prosecution. Now, I don't know personally, I'm also not an attorney. I don't know if you can claim costs from federal regulators. I don't know that. But that to me seems like another reason I would probably avoid that. 20 million is like a huge win. If you just look pure numbers, I mean, they were trying to go after them for multiple hundreds of millions of dollars in fines. 20 million is a significant reduction and a huge win.
Yeah.
Again, with all of these high profile legal cases, you get a lot of lawyers lawyering and jockeying for clout. And so, they bring on throughout the process different expert lawyers for different areas of focus, and they get to go public and pump up their image and all that stuff. And I think that's the same idea with this recent guy that they hired. Really? Huge name recognition. They hire him at the 11th hour, like, just to come in and make a splash. So hopefully Ripple figures it out. I'm excited to not talk about it anymore because,
oh my God, that's how I felt about SBF too. And I'm just like, I want him to be sentenced so it goes away.
But we didn't even get 24 hours of like calm before people are already talking about
something else,
Ethereum and Ripple and all this other, like, they're right away. They got to get back onto the fear.
Yeah. Stop being so funny, crypto guys.
Yeah. Fuck.
What's your deal?
There's lots to be excited about, like all these attacks in October.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So the attacks in October.
Best transition ever.
This is just, that was solid. I just wasn't prepared because I was responding to someone on Twitch. But there were a lot. There were over 20 attacks in October. The term attack here is a little bit weird because obviously there were probably more individual attacks, but these are attacks actually that were on chain. These numbers are primarily from Chainalysis. However, CertiK also reported really similar numbers, so they have been fact checked. They have been validated.
Yeah,
but BNB had the highest number of attacks with 11 incidences, and Ethereum had 9 incidents, and there were losses. And then Avalanche had 2 incidents, and Polygon and Phantom each had 1 incident. And this is primarily hacking, so there's a little bit of financial loss. And basically in September, CertiK said that 332 million in digital assets had been lost to exploits on these chains, whereas in October, I believe it was a little bit less.
16.35.
Thank you.
That's a lot less in the month of October.
That's way less.
BNB Smart Chain is often in the news for this type of discussion, but it's also a function of purely the amount of users and new users that BNB Smart Chain brings on board from the Asian markets.
Well, yeah, but these aren't exploits against individuals. These are against the chain.
Against the chain.
Yeah.
Are you sure? I understood that it was.
That's how it reads.
Individual attacks. Maybe. Either way, definitely worth paying attention to. Be safe out there. I mean, it's only going to get worse, obviously.
Yes.
Whenever the cycles turn around and it becomes more of a bull cycle, the scammers up their game because there's a whole bunch of unsuspecting people. We all are still, susceptible to getting caught not paying attention, and we've been here for a while.
Yes.
New people coming into space have never experienced any of this before. Like, I mean, I've talked quite a bit about the amount of times I've been scammed in good faith, right? Like I'm probably not the smartest guy on earth, but I'm also not a complete idiot. And so it happens to almost all of us. And so new retail people coming in are great targets. So just be careful. One note, actually, I wanted to make on the Ripple documents. You mentioned op-ed. For people that are as smooth-brained as I am, op-ed is an opinion editorial. Really, really, really important to actually understand when you're reading articles, to make that distinction. Is it an actual news article from a staff writer, or is it an op-ed from some... Anybody can submit op-eds to get run. I could submit an op-ed to the New York Times, and if they like it, they'll run it. But the major difference is one is supposed to be journalism and factual. That's another conversation for another day. And the other one is, in fact, entirely opinion-based. And unfortunately, especially in crypto, the two are conflated often.
Absolutely.
Like opinion is taken as fact way more often than it should be. So anyways, just be careful. Public service announcement, because that's what we do here.
Let's round up our bad news.
Okay, that's enough bad news.
SafeMoon is not having a good week. This actually kind of got buried because of the SBF stuff. So this actually happened last week.
What are you talking about? This is also bad news.
That's what I said, to wrap up our bad news.
Oh, I thought you meant we're done with the bad news.
No. This is our final bad news, and then we're going to have good news. So SafeMoon has been charged the...
What?
How today is going for me.
What?
SafeMoon is being charged because they liquidated a bunch of funds to buy Lambos and Porsches and so on and so forth. And some of them have actually been arrested in the States.
Yeah, they deliberately misled investors and diverted millions of dollars to fuel their greedy scheme and enrich themselves by purchasing a custom Porsche sports car, other luxury vehicles, real estate, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of these stories that kind of come out. I don't know anything about SafeMoon personally, about the team or anybody involved or any of that shit. But well, I mean,
I have to say that in the face of adversity, their socials team is killing it. They're really trying to do some PR cleanup. So.
Well, I mean, there's a fine line here, right? Use of funds and your responsibility to your investors in traditional markets that are highly regulated and so on, it is a real thing. There's only certain things that you can do, and you have to have proper governance, and there's recourse for your investors if you spend money inappropriately. Problem with crypto is most of these entities are domiciled offshore. And so it's a little more difficult to navigate the control over that. So we'll have to see. I mean, this really sucks because it's typical bullshit where like they're buying Lambos and real estate. But then again, right? If you take a step back, people that start businesses as entrepreneurs, if that business provides value and you're making money because others make money, it's fine to be able to buy cars, and arguments can be made. Totally. They probably shouldn't have bought Porsches, real estate, and Lambos, but so anyways, it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. I think the situation is made worse because they've also been under the microscope because they've had some exploits lately and some vulnerabilities. And so it's like kind of like a whole bunch of things piling on all at the same time. It kind of sucks, but it's like, again, it's pretty standard for the, I think it's pretty standard for the space. We're probably going to see more of this. I mean, many of my partners have much better judgment than I do. And in the last bull market, I was probably annoyed that we couldn't do certain things. And in hindsight, it's probably really good that we didn't do certain things. So,
okay, fair.
So anyways, I think, hopefully this is, only a few of them that get penalized like this if they were actually doing something malicious, but we'll have to see.
All right, that's enough bad news. I'm tired of the bad news.
Let's talk about my boy Musk.
Elon Musk has announced a new company called XAI, and hilariously, people assumed that the crypto token XAI was related, even though it's not at all related. Nobody's ever pretended to be related. Not a big deal. So XAI has jumped in worth, in value, and Musk has come out and said, we don't have a crypto token. We aren't going to do a crypto token. None of my companies will ever have a crypto token. But while we say that, Christine and I talked last week, I think actually on Wednesday, that discussing having a crypto wallet on X for users and doing other TradFi endeavors, to the point that he has told his staff that they better get rid of their bank accounts and invest only with X. So they might not be doing a crypto token, but they are doing something.
Yeah, he's been pretty clear on that, actually, that he probably will incorporate digital payments, specifically crypto payments, on a few platforms. I mean, they accepted Bitcoin for Tesla for a while. They didn't because it was too volatile to manage a balance sheet properly for very long, but they did for a little while. There's a lot of speculation, and even the Doge logo on X for a while. Like, there's a lot of speculation which assets. Yeah, I don't think it will be a surprise if Musk supports crypto payments and enablement and a lot of other financial products. I just think that he wants to be in the shovel business, not in the mining business.
Exactly.
And I don't blame him. So, also because global regulators are up his ass about absolutely everything already.
Yeah.
It's one of the
also, though, hilarious for XAI, the token. Because because those who are day trading, they don't really care about this as a long-term investment anyways. So it's probably opportunistic on all sides, right? Like, it's like they could know that it has nothing to do with the token and then just.
It's the typical like meme coin BS.
Yeah.
The only bright side about these meme coin nonsense things happening is it's usually a symptom of better market conditions. When we start to see more meme coins and it becomes a thing, and some are going bananas because somebody on Twitter said something, like, that's usually a good sign. I think there's quite a few things that are starting to make me feel considerably more positive.
Nice.
Which is definitely a good thing. All right, just as we wrap up, where do you want to go? Let's maybe talk.
No, we can do both. We've got a couple minutes.
Right, we do have time.
They're related. So MC2 Finance has joined the Cointelegraph Accelerator. The only reason that I'm really pointing this out, I don't think that it's super exciting. I don't think it's a surprise, but I love that the accelerators are still rolling. I like that more and more people and companies are able to enter and get the support they need to create solutions. And we're seeing more and more institutional grade solutions created, which is exactly what's happening here. So they are offering KYC digital asset funds that are aligned with American regulatory requirements.
Yeah, definitely going to see more of this, in my opinion. I also think that portfolio management is something that we really just as a space haven't touched very closely, mainly because of, are you a registered investment advisor then? Mm-hmm. Do you need a broker dealer then? What are the requirements? Like, we've kind of always known that this would be something as a portfolio management function would be something that would be regulated under current regulations, and no one's really addressed that. So this is very interesting to see. I think it's great. Another thing that will probably come out of this, and I'm not 100% certain if and how they're working on it, but account statements and reporting for these types of portfolio management structures is something that is deeply, deeply needed in the space. It's very, very difficult to get meaningful account statements, even from centralized exchanges, that are legible and that make any sense whatsoever. So anyways, this I think is all exciting. Obviously, I mean, I live firmly on one side of the opinion scale here, but I mean, this is kind of the path towards societal change. We have to start incorporating the traditional system into this one. Otherwise, we're never going to see the growth that we're looking for.
Well, the other component here is that we need to be using blockchain for more than just crypto. And in the most recent news about VCs, you'll see that that's happening more and more. We're a little bit low on time, so I don't want to run through all of these, but we have everything from built-in liquidation mechanisms to healthcare data ownership. And my favorite one, actually, that has been funded just within the last month is that Account Labs has raised some money, and they are doing a Web3 wallet that's totally self-custody that you can sign up for with your Google account and then top up with a credit card.
Yeah.
And that's the way of the future. That's how we onboard 1 billion users, right? And so I like seeing that people are going to be regulatorily compliant. I like seeing that people want to get new users and we're not serving only degens, but then the degen ethos in me does die a little bit inside.
Absolutely. I mean, VC, obviously I've been in the mix. We've been raising money for quite a while for different things. So I've been deep in the mix with VCs. Q3 There was 2.1 billion invested in over 297 deals, which is, I don't have the numbers from Q2, but it's a massive increase. And that is very consistent with what our experience has been. A lot of high quality funds had a ton of dry powder, and we're just waiting for when valuations came, in check with where they probably should be, which always takes time. You weed out the companies that are going to fail to be able to figure out where your portfolio stands. And then you start deploying capital again once you think there's a good chance of momentum shift. And it kind of seems, from all indications, including the ones listed in this article, but also my own anecdotes, it appears we're getting to a better position. I mean, the thing here is it's the due diligence is deeper and more comprehensive than ever before, which I actually welcome. Honestly, it's frustrating going through this process that is so different from what we've gone through on the last few fundraising rounds. But it's good. I think the space is maturing. Venture firms are becoming more experienced and more professional relative to their cohorts in trad finance, traditional finance, and trad tech. I think it's great. There's a lot of momentum and excitement here. And so my general sentiment at the moment, especially from a crypto-centric momentum perspective, I think it's very positive. So definitely a fan.
So we're not ending on a FUD note. Look, we did it. We were so positive.
We ended on a good note. All right, quick reminder to everybody just before we bounce, we're a live show Monday to Friday, 12:30 p.m. Eastern. We're on all the major channels. Twitter live video, normally Twitter Spaces. We will be back. We're on Twitch. We're on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, all the podcast platforms, Spotify, etc.
All of it.
Give us a follow, like, share, subscribe. Kara, with that, I say to you today, go find yourself.
Go find yourself.
Later.